Hey friends, welcome to another episode of Secrets from the Saddle, All Things Cycling Podcast. Say that 10 times fast. Oh my God. With your host, Sylvie D'Aoust. Now, before we get started, I just want to share with you some freebies that I have available at askcoachsylvie.ca. So go to askcoachsylvie.ca, have some free downloads there. One of them is my 9 favorite hill climbing drills. Now, download them, try them, and if you're out there trying to get faster, being intentional on your hill repeats is so important. So try them. Next one is organization, about getting organized. Are you one of those people who runs around trying to find all your stuff? I created a bike bin checklist. So find a bin and start getting organized and use this checklist to start accumulating stuff for your seasons. The last one is my 1-hour bike maintenance clinic. And what it is it talks about all the tools that you should be carrying with you every time you go riding, how to use them, why you use them, and other great tips on how to change a flat, how to change a broken chain, patch a tube, and other great tips and tricks. So go and download them, share them, and I'd also love to know what you thought about them. Now, have an amazing day and enjoy this episode. And remember, follow me on Instagram for more tips on cycling.
Saddle, All Things Cycling Podcast. And here's your host, Sylvie D'Aoust. And we have a really interesting guest here today. His name is Nott. He's from the UK. He has a couple things. Now, he is part of the UK cycling community, but he's going to talk about his cycling experience getting into cycling. He also has car insurance for cyclists. Now, I know this is something that's just UK based, but I'm sure that if he had somebody from somewhere else, he could probably definitely help them out. But we're going to hear all about it from Chris. And he started this really cool charity, which he's going to talk about, which some of his proceeds from his company go towards this charity. So here's a little bit of background before we bring him out. All right. So his aim is to promote car insurance for cyclists.com, which enables road cycling enthusiasts, triathletes, duathletes to benefit from saving in their car insurance, which don't we all like a little bit of savings, especially in insurance, because of their cycling experience, road alertness, space awareness, healthy lifestyle. He has a panel of underwriters prepared to acknowledge the important element. He's also giving away all his profits from this in order to support the charity that he's worked for in Malawi, which is, he's going to share what he's doing there, which is what he founded. So it's called starfishmalawi.com, working with the most vulnerable of kids in Malawi. So I'm really, really interested, and I'm super excited to bring him out. Nott, welcome to the podcast.
It's lovely to be invited. Thank you very much.
Well, I thought that you had something really extraordinary to share with all of us cyclists, even though you said that you're not a big time cyclist. But I always love to start the podcast with asking how you found yourself maybe on a bicycle or putting together the insurance for cyclists, and how it ties into your charity and how you got into that. Take it away.
Yes, let me take you back around about 40 years, and I set up an insurance company specializing in car insurance. About 17 years ago, I received a letter just through the post from an unknown source, and it happened to be from a country called Malawi. I'd never been to Malawi. I never wanted to go to Africa. But the opportunity came after I'd been running my business for many years. And back in 2003, I went on my very first visit to Malawi because I'd been asked in this letter and I was targeted from a database to go to Malawi to build a church. And I was the only person who got targeted, who went out and saw. And I came back from Malawi, and people noticed my life was different. Somehow I was drawn into what I had seen. And of course, it was very poor, and no running water, no electricity. It was hugely simple place, and I got very much drawn in. And believe it or not, within 6 months of that visit, I ended up selling my insurance business and working as a full-time volunteer ever since, as CEO of a growing charity in Malawi. The cycling bit, if I could just get to that, and then there'll be lots of questions, I'm sure. But the cycling bit emerged about 13 or 14 years after I'd sold my business. I'd just visited the offices. I'm still, the insurance company is still named after me, Nott Insurance. And that's what the directors bought off me. But the interesting thing was I saw these cyclists weaving their way through the traffic. And quite honestly, in my mind, suddenly there was this like revelation. It was like this, that somehow it just came into my mind from nowhere. Surely cyclists, through their experience on the road, would make better drivers because they've been cyclists. And so at that moment was born car insurance for cyclists. It came from there. It come from a cycling background. I didn't have any real cycling history whatsoever, but because of my insurance history, and also because I was raising money for Malawi, it seemed to merge for me, so that I was in a position to be able to use my skills as an insurance broker, combining it with fundraising for the charity. So that's, in a sense, the background to where Starfish Malawi started. And I can tell you the Starfish story if you're interested. Why do we call it Starfish Malawi? But that's how the two things have merged.
I think so. Going back to the cyclist that you saw, did you go back to your insurance company and say, hey, you should add something to the insurance policy for cyclists? And is it for car owners who have bicycles, or is it giving them a rebate because they are on their bicycles if they have cars?
Okay, it's car insurance for cyclists. So it's not cycle insurance for cyclists. Everybody else does that. So I went back to my...
Okay.
people insurance units. But cycle insurance, car insurance for cyclists, where you take the cycling experience and then combine it with the car insurance, we are unique in offering that. So I went back to my insurance company and asked them whether whether they'd be interested in this, and we've now got a panel of underwriters who also agree with this relationship between cycling and driving.
Can you explain just a little bit more of the cycling and car relationship, like how it works?
Okay, so we've first of all, we've done some research and analysis on the cyclists that we currently have on the books, and we've already discovered that they're 50% less likely to have an accident. So the number of accidents for our ordinary book of business have say 100 accidents per 1,000 people. cyclists only have 50. So in a sense, we've got proven evidence. Over the years in New Zealand, Australia, all over the world, there has been some research done in order to verify this connection. And the connection seems to me to be fairly obvious. If you are a cyclist, it means that at least you're aware of other cyclists around you when you are behind the steering wheel. So you immediately have an awareness of the road, and many of the serious accidents that take place in the UK and I guess around the world are personal injury claims when cyclists are injured by car drivers. And I would imagine that if you're a cyclist, you're very much more aware of other cyclists in a car than a non-cyclist. And also healthy lifestyle, mental alertness, all of those things that cycling can give improve your awareness of the surrounding. So when you're in a car, you're aware of other cars. It's mental alertness as well. And obviously, if you're on a cycle, another point is you're not actually in the car. So you are replacing the car miles, which you would have done, with cycling miles. And therefore, the amount of hours you are in the car is reduced, but you're still getting your very much road worthiness. You're still road alert. So it means that the insurer of the car is actually covering much less car hours than they would have done otherwise. So there's a whole series of benefits flowing from you being a cyclist and also a driver.
Oh, I like it. So you get a rebate on your insurance if you're both a cyclist and a car. Like if you have a car and you have a bike, you get a rebate on your insurance.
Yes. So what happens is that, and it's when you use the word, it's not complicated. We as an organization, for every 3 people who contact us, 1 goes ahead. Now you might say, why don't all 3? Well, of course, the insurance market is hugely competitive, and we are the only company in the whole world, as far as I know, to bring cycling into driving. There's lots of other features about how old you are, what sort of car you drive, have you had any accidents, convictions, and so on. All of these things still apply to a car insurance risk. But we have factored in cycling as a huge benefit. So therefore, though there are, as I say, hundreds and thousands of different insurance offers, we are still able to compete very favorably. And of course, the difference with us, as I'm sure we will explain to your audience, is that any money that I earn, 100% of it will go to supporting cycling in Malawi.
Okay, so Chris, I have a question. Now, and I totally agree that being a car driver and a cyclist, you are more aware, and you're also have to get more angry at cyclists that you see not abiding by the rules of the road, which I find, and I have to be conscious of that, because I'm like, come on, guys, you're giving us a bad rap. You know what I mean? But I have a question. So if I'm a car driver and I would like that rebate in my insurance, and I just go out and buy a bicycle, how do I get the insurance rebate? How does that work?
Okay, so we advertise our products solely within the cycling community, and there might be some cases, we accept this as we launch this product, there might be cases where people who never cycle phone us up and say, I'm a cyclist and this and that, and they want the discount. But as long as we advertise, we ask them, how do you cycle? Are you a member of a cycling club? And we ask them questions about their cycling behavior and how much they do as part of our questions and answers when we give out a quotation. So all you'd have to do is when your car insurance renews, You would then, in the UK only, of course, this is a UK insurance product. In the UK, you simply go to carinsuranceforcyclists.com, and then you either give your information or phone up, and then we give you the quotation at that stage. It's generally done when the renewal is due, because that's the way insurance works in the UK.
That's really interesting. And how come you haven't like marketed that to other like insurance companies globally? Because I mean, there's a lot of places other than the UK that could, would benefit from that.
I think that the UK is is big enough for me at the moment.
Right.
You must remember that my chief role is CEO of Starfish Malawi. That's what I'm doing. 90% of my time is actually running a charity in Malawi. And if I just told you about what I've done in the last week later on, you'll very quickly get a feel for the sorts of things that I'm involved in, which have got nothing to do with cycling, though at the same time, obviously that provides income for us to continue to work in Malawi.
So do you take so what part of that insurance for cycling does a portion of that go towards that charity? Is that the kind
Yes.
of partnership you have still with your company? Or with your ex-company, I should say?
Yes. I'm an introducer, and every time a policy is sold or renewed, I am given a percentage of the commission based upon the size of the premium and therefore the insurance commission, and I get it for new business and when people renew their policy, and all the money, every single penny, is then sent out to Malawi.
All right, so let's go right into Malawi. Now, I understand why you call it Starfish. You sent me a picture of all those starfishes. Like, oh my gosh. I don't think I've ever seen as many starfishes in one spot ever. But so go back to that time you went there to build church, and how that impacted your life.
Okay,
and going forward to creating that charity, because I want to hear all about this.
Okay, so I was asked to go to build this church, and I arrived, and the church group met in a dilapidated school. It was like we would say like a pigsty. It was appalling, and the children were sitting on a floor. There was nothing there at all. And so the thought after my first trip, and I never thought I was going to be selling my business after my first trip, but my mind changed very quickly about that. But the thought emerged that what we would do is I would build a whole new school, and then the church group could meet in a refurbished school. And then we could then do that rather than me build a church with a spire or something silly like that in a place like Malawi. So the plan in my mind was, kind of God willing, would I be able to do that when I got back to the UK? And having got back to the UK, quite amazingly, a lot of my friends and family and other people seemed to get behind this idea, and they said, yeah, we would love to be part of this. So I really got just the type of start that you want when you are thinking about this very strange idea. Starfish, you saw all the starfish. That picture was actually taken a few years ago in the UK in a county called Norfolk, and the Starfish Story, I'd heard the Starfish Story maybe 10 years before I went to Malawi. And it's all about the starfish being washed up after a strong tide. And then a boy goes along the beach and he picks up a starfish and he throws it into the water. And then one of his parents is walking behind and says to the boy, oh, there's too many of them. You're not going to make any difference. And the boy bends down, picks up one more starfish, throws it into the sea and says, made a difference to that one, saved the life of that one starfish. And as I said, I'd heard that story 10 years before, and I immediately knew that the charity would have that story of helping the ones and twos, you know, making a difference, just doing something that would.
Hi, Chris. That is
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, so that's where it all came from.
Wow. Okay. So now can I just backtrack? Like, what got you to go to Malawi in the first place? Like, who convinced you to go? Or was it just something that you're like, you know, I just need to do something different?
No.
Like,
Well,
were you with a friend, or you saw this organization, or?
okay, so I got that letter, which was inviting me. And as I say, I was off a database, which was a database.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You got
100 different people. 2 people went from that database. 2 people replied, and I was the only one that went. And I was in a church service one day, and someone stood up in the pulpit and said, I'm going to Kenya, but I need a male companion because I've got very poor eyesight. He's got severe diabetes. And at night time, he needed to have a man. He said, he stood up, he said, would anybody here like to go with me to Kenya? Could anybody help me? And suddenly I thought about it, and I went up to him afterwards and I said to him, yeah, I'll come with you to Kenya if you come with me to Malawi. And the deal was struck, and I only went to Malawi on my first trip for 4 days, only 4 days. But it's the 4 days, obviously, that changed my life, because I ended up, as I said, very quickly and selling my business and, you know, changing it. I know this has not got a lot to do with cycling, but what I'm about to say is absolutely true. The next part, I came back, and obviously I was excited, and I thought, well, I have a day off a month because I built this really successful business, and we had 40 employees, and I'd worked really hard to build it up. So I thought I'll have a day off and I'll try and raise money by going to schools and other places for this school that I was going to build. But my directors saw the difference in me, and one day they invited me into the boardroom without me knowing that what they were going to say, and they said, we've seen the difference in you, and we would like to make an offer to buy you out. And so I didn't even have to find a buyer in order to release myself to be able to then. So very quickly, within a year from me visiting Malawi, I'd sold my business, set up the charity, and from then on, I've moved from insurance broking to international development.
all with this car insurance for cyclists. Well, see, you don't have to be into cycling, but a part of what you've done incorporated cycling that got you to where you are, and you know, roundaboutly. But tell us about this charity in Starfish Malawi. Like, what did you see there when you went? Because I mean, I've traveled over in Asia and India and Nepal, and I've been in some, well, pretty rough areas. I'm sure it's nothing like what you went through, but kind of on the same spectrum. And I came back a different person. But tell us more about your charity.
Okay, so we started off building this school. So I went into other schools locally, and we obviously were looking to improve education, and that's been our primary focus ever since. And we're now well known by the British Council in the UK, and we've developed it. But I went to schools, I presented in assemblies, some of my pictures I took, and amazingly, people said, yes, I'd like to support this. And within about 3 years, we had built a school for 2,000 children, a brand new school, which is now one of the best schools in the whole of Malawi in terms of results. It went from the worst to the best, obviously because we had invested quite a lot of money in new toilets, teachers' houses, new classrooms, and all sorts of we provided, we handed it over to the government. So it's not a private school, it's just an ordinary school, but obviously teachers wanted to teach there because they could see that it was had much better resources and facilities. So the school was built, but then in a sense the job was done, and I could have just finished there and then, but of course it was the beginning of that journey that we've been experiencing. The main things we are involved with at the moment, we provide girls who go to school. We discovered as we got involved in education, girls who go to school often have their period and unfortunately have got nothing to wear other than rags, and they get embarrassed at the time. So they stop going to school and often end up with early pregnancies and early marriages. So we started a program called Gateway, which is Girls' Access to Education, and we've provided over 10,000 kits so that girls can remain at school during their period. And we found that the level of absenteeism amongst girls has reduced dramatically. We've sponsored hundreds of children through secondary school and many dozens of children through university, and we've got some wonderful stories of boys and girls becoming teachers, doctors. They've become one's even become a member of parliament as a result of taking them, because in Malawi primary school education is voluntary but free. Secondary school education has to be paid for, and very few people have the money to be able to afford to send their children to secondary school. We've built probably the equivalent of about 5 or 6 complete schools, which has been amazing. We've just recently got very heavily involved. We've built a health clinic, and we had 5,000 patients in our first month. And we've built a special disability wing for children who are disabled. We run nursery schools. We do teaching. We work with local pastors. So what started off as a single, one-dimensional education-only build a school suddenly emerged into something much wider and bigger. And as I say, if you go on to starfishmalawi.com, you can have a look at what we do, and you can have a look at all the various things that I've been describing.
Oh my gosh. Like, how long ago did you start this, Chris?
2003 was my first trip, and I've been working on it ever since. And the big things now, I mean, at the moment, if I could just tell you briefly, so COVID awareness. Unfortunately, there's big hindrances to taking the vaccine, big hesitancy in Malawi to take the vaccine, as you've probably discovered yourself. And therefore, we've done the COVID awareness campaign. Because schools have often been closed over this period, the abuse against girls has grown. So we've created programs called Cherish and Courage to encourage boys and girls to treat each other with respect. And as I say, the health clinic has been overrun with people, and of course, the problem has been that there's no beds. I got an email just this week to say they've run out of beds. They've got no oxygen concentrators. So what started off, as I say, as a simply building a school has moved into many other areas. I'll just say one more thing. I give the impression that we do a lot, but remember, we're only working in one specific area. So when I describe what I'm doing, it's not all over Malawi. It's in the one place where that school was and the surrounding district, which is
What district is
50
that,
other
Chris?
schools called Salima, and it's about an hour's drive from the capital, Lilongwe, and yeah, that's where we work, and it's like it's quite a big area. It's like in England we call it like a county. We call it quite a big area, and maybe I don't know, 300 or 400 square miles. It's not just a small little area we deal with, but at the same time, we're not all over. We're not all over Malawi. We're just in this one particular area.
Yeah, because I was sorry, because since we don't have the video up, I just I just went to take a look at where exactly Malawi was in Africa. And for anybody who doesn't know, it's below Tanzania and between Zimbabwe and Tanzania is Malawi. So yeah. And it's hard to believe that you've done all that in one very small area. Like 2,000 kids in a school? That's a lot of kids. Is that from is that elementary school and up, or?
That's all the ones we work with are primary schools, though we obviously support children through secondary school by paying their fees. But the largest school we deal with has got 5,500 pupils, and it's huge. And they have a shift system, so they have morning and evening work. So we've been, as I say, I've been to Malawi 29 times, and I was hopefully going to go again 2 years ago, but it hasn't happened because of the coronavirus. And I was actually going to be made officially a chief, which was going to be quite exciting, but unfortunately that will have to wait for another day.
So have you been there since COVID, or have you been only?
No, we haven't. I haven't been there since COVID at all, because it just seems to me to be wise to wait, and hopefully next year we'll be able to. It's very much in the red zone, and I'm afraid that yes, there's no planes landing there directly from the UK and other things like that. So it would be very difficult to be able to go, and obviously going against government rules. But maybe I could tell you a little bit about the exciting part that's cycling. So
Yes,
how
please
cycling
do.
is connected. I just thought your listeners might like to know. Now, obviously, initially, I was thinking to myself that any money that I raise will go to Malawi, and I have sent over many thousands of pounds from car insurance to cyclists to Malawi. But I suddenly thought that it would maybe be better for, dare I say, the marketing connection, but more importantly, on the ground, to connect car insurance for cyclists with cycling in Malawi. So what we've decided to do, and we're already doing it, is all the key workers, and we've heard a lot about key workers in the UK recently. All the key workers like teachers, nurses, doctors. They normally have to walk to work. Literally, if you own some money, you'll have a bicycle. In most people have cars, most of the listeners, but in Malawi, you hardly see a car on the roads, literally, but you do see bicycles. So we made a decision that any money we earned would go specifically to improve the efficiency of teachers and doctors and nurses, and you've heard we're heavily involved in those particular sectors, and so we're going to provide bicycles and make sure that the bicycles are good quality bicycles, and ensure that they're, instead of someone maybe walking to school 2 or 3 miles each way every day and getting hot and wet, dry and thirsty, that we would provide them with bicycles, and we feel as though that would be an excellent way, because bicycles are like having, in a sense, cars in most places. And I do believe that that decision that we've made is not just because we want to market our product better, but actually we will get a massive return because of this. We've already had the bikes we've handed out. We've already had a fantastic feedback saying, you know, you wouldn't believe how not only as a job, but also personally, these bicycles have enabled professional people to be able to live better, work better, and everything like that. So that's what we've committed ourselves to. Any money that comes from car insurance for cyclists will go towards cycling repair, everything connected with the cycling community in Malawi.
Oh, that's okay. So that's awesome, because I've seen, like, here in Canada, or like in Ottawa, I know there's some organizations that collect bikes and send them, like, say, to Cuba and hand them out there. And I'm sure that they go to other places as well, but they literally fill up a shipping container and just ship them over. And I know, as a cycling club myself, we have donated like old jerseys that, you know, nobody wants to buy anymore, and we've shipped them over to, I think it's Cuba predominantly, where we help. But, you know, anything that we can do to help, you know, donate our stuff, we do. Now, how are you getting those bikes over to Malawi?
Okay, well, you've got to remember that, as I said, cycling is like driving here. So there is a big industry. When I was last in Malawi, I went to the assembly factory of buffalo bicycles, which are imported from China and assembled in Malawi. And there is a tremendous business of bicycles. So therefore, it's very, very, very easy if you've got the money to be able to buy bicycles. It's like, as I say, cars over here. It's simple. So there's no, we send a container. In fact, we just sent a container, a 40-foot container, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and there were a couple of bicycles on there, but generally speaking, we would buy them in country, and it's very simple.
I guess so, because these ones are not brand new. Like, they're either like refurbished or donated, or maybe they've come from, I don't know, you know, the police collect them and they don't sell at their auctions, or I don't know where they come from, but they're not brand new. So that's why they're kind of refurbished bikes that go over. But you send over brand new bikes that have to be assembled. So that makes sense, because they show up in a box. Much easier to ship.
Sorry, I got that. I mustn't have explained it very clearly. The assembly is China sends all of their materials to an assembly point, a factory in Malawi, and we have nothing to do with it. All we have to do is to pay for the bicycles. And
okay.
So we can also, I mean, there's lots of, you can pay brand new, second hand, there's all sorts of options and costs, but our theory is that the roads are so bad. There's only about 3 tarmac roads in the whole of Malawi, excluding the cities, which are the main kind of motorway. So you've got to have a very, very robust bicycle to be able to get around in Malawi. So we use the ones that have been specifically made for the road conditions, and that's how we do it.
Oh, well, that makes sense, because like you said, so they're more kind of touring / mountain bike type bicycles.
Yes, I don't know much about, but Buffalo Bicycles is the name of the brand, and but obviously there are many other brands out there that, as I say, are, and I don't know what they're called, but I do know that we make sure that they are. If we're going to give these away to key workers, we've got to make sure that they are sufficiently robust for the roads.
Yeah. The last thing you need is all flat tires and no bikes going anywhere. That is really cool. So Chris, has this prompted you to maybe get on start cycling yourself? I think you said. Have you got a bicycle yourself yet?
I must be very honest that I have no
That's okay.
intention. I want to be, it would be lovely to say to you, oh yes, stimulated to get up. But at the age of 68, I'm probably thinking to myself that if I was going to do cycling, I might have done it before now. So yes, I see. So cycling, a bit like the insurance scheme itself, came from just an understanding of needs rather than my cycling prowess or cycling desires. I could just see how it could be used so amazingly to support one of the world's poorest countries. When I went to Malawi, the average life expectancy in 2003 of someone in Malawi was 37. Now, 17 years later, I'm pleased to say it's 62. It's still young, but it's changed massively over the last years.
Well, I mean, you aren't that old to get on a bicycle, Chris. A lot of people, the funny thing is that a lot of people pick up bikes around your age too. I don't know about the UK, but around here, it's like one of those things everybody, like when you decide to make a lifestyle change, cycling's usually the one that people choose. And I think if I could encourage you, that you might just like it.
Well, I think I do actually have a bicycle in my garage, which is going to go on the next container to Malawi. So I will take you and I will just cycle up the road and I will see whether I think I've got a new career.
Hey, you never know. If I could encourage you to do that, that would be cool. Since you kind of intertwined it in your life, and you'd be like, yeah, I can see how this appeals to a lot of people. And since you're retired and you have so much time, since you can't be there, I know that you're very busy. And it sounds like, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine like everything that you've built, like say almost in 20 years. Like it's like that second career, right? Like you must feel so, I mean, like, I don't know, like I can't, how do you feel? How does that like when you do that, like explain I don't know, just explain how that makes you feel.
Well,
you're like the Oprah Winfrey of Malawi.
Running an insurance business is considerably easier than running a charity because of the fact that you've got the problem of communication. So in Malawi, the internet is not great, and you've got issues of communication, reporting, and whereas if you're selling insurance, it seems to be a much simpler process where you control people. You're sitting in an office with them and you're doing this. But I can say when I consider what's gone on, how I feel really kind of blessed to be able to do what I've done, and it seems to me to be a calling. I sent you one photograph of a lady called Grace, and yes. If I could just share that story, because that was it was on the images, the the
Oh yeah, I saved them. I didn't print that
Yeah.
off, but I saved it. Yeah.
But if I could just tell you very briefly, it's a lovely story. I was at a petrol station in Malawi, and this is the true story. And I was filling up the car, and there was this lady who was serving me, and so she put in the petrol, and then said, "Would you like an invoice?" And I said, "Yes, please." And she said, "What name would you like the invoice in?" And I said, "Starfish Malawi." And she looked at me, and I looked at her. I knew she had a story to tell me. And when I first went to Malawi back in 2003, she can't remember me going, but she went to the school which we first built. She was one of the pupils at that school when I
Oh my
first
gosh,
went.
no way. One of the students?
One of the students, and we had sponsored her through secondary school. She was one of our first secondary school sponsored students. And then after that, we helped her through teacher training college, and she was literally, at the moment when I met her, she was just having a fill-in job between her leaving teachers training college and starting at a school to become a teacher. And what it showed me was that there was this cycle. It's not just what happens today, but there is a product, a fruit from what we are doing, which actually means that people get help. She personally was really grateful, and as I say, she'd never met me, we didn't know each other, but in a sense she was part of that fruit that you discover. And I was once went on a safari, and I met someone a long way away, and they said, "Oh, hi, Chris." And I thought, I don't know you. And this person had gone on to become quite an important person within the local community. And as I say, the school where I rebuilt, called Caputo School, that head teacher, who was you sensed almost suicidal when I met him, because of what we did in his school, he actually became one of the top people in the whole of Salima education system as a result of, in a sense, what went on. So sometimes the impact of what you do is only seen a little bit later down the path. And it's nice when you find out these things almost by accident, and you know that what you've done has changed the lives of many people. And yes, I got just one more. I got an email just a few days ago from a young girl, and again, she now is married. She's got 2 children. She is a teacher at a school. Her husband's running a business, and they are happy and content. And she just wanted to write to say, without your help, I wouldn't be where I am now. So it's when you receive messages like that that you realize that what we're doing is so precious.
It is, and you don't realize, like you said, how many people you've impacted or have actually used that impact to be for good, and taken themselves somewhere. That is so amazing. I love this. It just gives you a really happy feeling in your stomach. And I know I keep taking the video off because your audio is so much better with our videos off, but oh my gosh, I love this. And I'm going to share this with everybody. I don't know how I can put this document on our show notes, but I think it's part of your website. Is this on your website? This little story,
Not
Chris?
at the moment.
This is the document.
It will be, but it's fresh off the.
Oh, it's just
not
fresh.
Yet.
Oh, is it just for me? Aw. So yeah. So we're gonna put all his links, and if you're I suppose you take donations at Starfish Malawi.
Yes, we've obviously we were a registered charity in the UK, and of course we have got yes, we receive donations, and if anybody did want to. I mean, I often say the most important thing is to, believe it or not go for the money, but go for kind of the heart. Go for, because we work in a lot of schools. We work in about 30 schools in the UK, and I'm not really after the children wanting to dip into their pockets and give me money. I want them to give me their mind and their heart. I want them to give me themselves, so that they, as they grow up, they see the world through a slightly different set of eyes to what the world would normally portray. Yeah, but of course we do depend upon, in order to build a health clinic and do other things, of course, yes, there is money involved, and we've been very fortunate in the 17 years we've been operating.
Yeah, extraordinary things. Oh my gosh.
Every year, and we've never had a problem.
So do you so you said that you do presentations in schools and share with them like what you've done?
Yes, I did miss one of the things that we do, and that's schools linking. So schools linking means that we've had hundreds of teachers go to Malawi, and probably about 50 teachers from Malawi come to the UK. And
really? Oh, that's so cool.
Funded by the British Council under what they call a Connecting Classrooms grant. So the government give out a grant, and I've been into hundreds of schools sharing about things like perceptions, global understanding, and then we've been talking about things like litter and waste and healthcare, and all sorts of different things that affect us all. Water, the importance of water, and we try and link it into the curriculum, so that at the moment our big project is called the Clean Hands, and we're trying to make sure, because it affects both people in Malawi and people in the UK and around the world. Clean hands is something that doesn't differentiate between the rich and poor. You've got to have clean hands in the current environment. So going into schools has been a large part of what I've done. I do have a schools linking coordinator who does most of the visits, but over the years I have been into literally hundreds of schools.
Do you set up like I know this is kind of maybe funny, but do you set up like pen pals between the kids too, like where they have friends and they communicate? Like, do you do that kind of stuff too?
So the answer to that is it was struggle to work because of just the whole communication issue. We struggle, but what we're doing a lot of now, and it is working very well. It's mostly from teacher to teacher. We have WhatsApp groups,
okay,
and that has worked very well, because the thing about WhatsApp groups is that it's very cheap to use in Malawi. It costs a little bit, but compared to the normal telephone call, it is a fraction of the cost, and therefore it's a way of enabling pictures, films, and information to be shared between the two schools. So that's what we're generally doing, is to use WhatsApp. And the largest growing industry in the whole of Africa, and also in Malawi, is the telecommunications industry. That's the biggest growing industry in Africa. And there are more mobile phones. There are more mobile phones in Malawi per person than there are in the UK. You would not believe that.
But really?
They tend to be the very old type. They're not the smartphones often. The smartphones, you have to have a little bit of money, but the old phones, which are just the phones only, lots of people have got those, which have been sent as a gift once we over here have started our smartphones. So, but yes, it's a massive growing industry, and there are literally people. Every teacher will have some kind of mobile phone.
Wow. I mean, I can't even say anything. That, like, this is extraordinary what you've done with your retirement, I'd say. retired well, you know, and you I don't say like, but you got into something that was meaningful, right? Instead of like just retiring on, you know, a yacht somewhere. But I wish we had some cool stuff. Maybe there's cool stuff like this happening around here, but this is really fun. So it is like the top of the hour, Chris. See, you asked how long this would happen. I'm just like, we're just going to talk. And you're just going to share your story and everything that you're doing. And so everybody, so like you said, they do take donations. So all of the links are going to be in the show notes, but it is starfishmalawi.com. That's the charity. And the social links for Chris are going to be in the show notes as well. So you can always reach out to him if you feel so moved by this particular episode. And maybe you are in the UK, maybe you're looking for something that's really to attach yourself to. And, you know, I'm sure Chris is probably looking for good people who are, you know, go to schools, can work with the org, volunteer, whatever. Oh, and there's the car insurance for cyclists. So check that out, because some of that money goes, like that money goes to the organizations as well. So Chris, I want to thank you for being open to share this. Like I say, every episode, every person that I interview, I get inspired by everybody on some certain level, but this one is a good one. This one is a good one. So I want to thank you, Chris. Come back out because we're just going to close it up. And thanks to our audience for listening. Do you have any last minute words that you'd like to share before we bring it to a close?
Well, I've discovered that there's a verse in the Bible that talks about it's more blessed to give than to receive, and I found that that's a beautiful thing to do, is to give. Somehow we like to receive, but I've discovered, as I say, that from my perspective, this has been a journey that I never expected. It came as a surprise. It came as a complete surprise to me, but. As I say, and I think the last thing I'd say is that I have some fantastic people around me. You cannot do these things alone, and almost all the people in the UK are volunteers, and you know, we just have some people who, like me, have grabbed hold of that Starfish Story and decided to, in their own small way, to do something wonderful. And yes, if anybody would like to make contact with me, and my contact details are on the website, I'll be delighted just to pick it up. I like what you said, Sylvie. It's more about meeting people who have skills, who have desire to want to help. It's the most important thing. Thank you.
Yes, that Starfish Story is beautiful. I love it. So with that, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Please share this with friends, and shout us out on social media. Follow Chris. He is on Facebook, and I'm on Instagram. And have yourself an amazing day. Don't forget to review and give us a rating. Have an amazing one. Thank you.